Hello and welcome to Robin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels and I'm coming to you live from our Abuja studio. It feels really good to escape the Lagos traffic. It's only in Lagos that your wife would give birth, and by the time you get to the hospital to see your child, the child is already 5 months old because of Lagos traffic. It's been a very dramatic week, and as a young Nigerian, I'm asking myself, who really obeys the law in this country? From everyday traffic violations to how security agencies and public institutions enforce rules, there's a pattern. Those in power often act as if the law doesn't apply to them, while ordinary citizens face immediate consequences for the same actions. Today, we're going to explore why this happens, what it says about governance and accountability in Nigeria, and how the culture of selective enforcement affects both institutions and citizens. This conversation is about law. It's about power, privilege, and what it really takes to make the rule of law work for everyone. And to discuss Nigeria and the rule of selective obedience is a public affairs analyst, Olufemi Bitoye. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Hero. And please, when are you going back to Lagos? Because really, we don't want Abuja to be overcrowded with Lagos people.
No, the truth of the matter is, anytime we come to Lagos, anytime we come to Abuja rather, we appreciate how well planned the city is, the road networks, you guys don't have traffic. And of course, Lagos is also really great. It's just that we have a population of over 22 million people. And
because we're in Abuja, we're more or less, we are of civil obedience. We follow the law here in Abuja.
Okay. You know what? Let's just dive straight into it. So, for the average Nigerian, what does obeying the law mean for the average Nigerian?
Okay, so for the average Nigerian, obeying the law, it's following the laid down law and order via constitution, the civil way on how to engage. And of course, it's about living in peace and harmony with your neighbor. Obeying the law gives law and order. So if you want that to sustain, you have to just know that, okay, these are the stipulated things we are told to do and what not to do. Follow that and everybody will be fine. Obeying the law, as simple as that.
Now, do you think the rule of law is selective in Nigeria?
Obviously, it is selective because over time we've seen that the rule of law, gravitates towards the powerful, the high and the mighty. So, it's also believed that there are two sets of laws in Nigeria. One for the poor and one for the rich and the powerful. So, and that is why Nigeria as a nation, we are where we are today.
Okay, let's now talk about what I like to call the anyhowness of a Nigerian that has sort of made it. When you begin to make a bit of money, you start thinking of how to buy Prado jeeps, probably get some policemen to follow you around. And then you now see that typically from government officials down to people that just have a bit of money, it's as if they don't even obey the very basic laws, like, let's say, for example, traffic. So we've seen a case of traffic violation severally. You go to a filling station and you want to jump the queue because you believe that you are not supposed to queue up with the everyday Nigerian. So how did we get this wrong? And why does this attitude persist? Okay,
so it's a system problem. And when the system is faulty, just like you have an operating system on your phone or your laptop, the moment it is faulty, there is bound to be malfunction. There won't be efficiency. So we got here based on the fact that over the years, culture of impunity, culture of anyhowness, culture of I have power, I can get away with anything, begin to trump rule of law. And when such happen in any society, growth and development will become something we pay lip service to. And that's why we are here where we are, as a nation. I mentioned it earlier. Because when you know that basic things, see, for any nation growth and development, law and order is very, very paramount. I think I was watching His Excellency Soludo, the governor of Anambra State. He said when he became governor, one of the first things he did was to meet the former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola. And one thing he told him is that law and order, that if you want to govern, if you want to be successful, one thing that is very paramount is what? Law and order. If there's no law and order, we can't have a functioning system. So this shows a deeper rot in our system because there is no law, there is no order, so there's no way a system can function. It's just like it's a system that is continually jig. There's no way you can have an appropriate reaction and action in our system.
So what you're trying to say is that this impunity that we experience is as a result of a weak system weak institution?
So, I've always of the opinion that what we have in Nigeria is weaker institution. And sometimes we hero worship, of course, not your name. So we looked at, oh, Femi is coming, he's so disciplined, let's put him as the INEC chairman, we'll make it work. We've forgotten that Femi is just a bit of the system. So until we look at our institutions, so we need to look at institutional power and empower our institution. If not, the culture of impunity will come, it will continue. Because when such person comes and goes, there's little to what he can do. Because his own immediate subordinates, they don't believe in that vision or the process which you want to take and achieve whatever you want to achieve. But when the institutions are empowered, when you know that when you have anything to do with the Nigerian police force, there is a protocol. It has nothing to do with either you are the governor, you are high, you are low, you have money. There is a process, a standard operating process which they will follow. People will begin to respect the rule of law. People will begin to respect the system. But when we have weaker institutions, anybody believes that when I get there, I can get away with anything when I have my money.
Okay, now speaking about institutions, there's a hot topic on the streets, like some people would say it, the debacle between Nyesom Wike, Federal Minister of FCT, and of course the Naval Officer Lieutenant Ahmed Yarima. And then the debate is, now, let's not be sentimental about what exactly happened in terms of the conversation and the words that were used in the conversation. Now, the debate was the formal naval officer that had the land did not have appropriate approval, aside from an 18-year-old document. And the officials were merely carrying out their jobs, and they had to call the minister because they were being harassed by the military. Now, on the other hand, you know, the military, of course, the military is saying they only answer to the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, which is President Tinubu. So, in such a case now, what are your thoughts on the incident?
You see, the incident has generated a lot of controversy in Nigeria. But one thing that I could pick from the whole of the scenario is that it shows a deeper dysfunction in our system. So it shows that ego, hierarchy dysfunction, and personalized power trumped law and order, protocol and power in our society. Because if you looked at it from any angle you want to look at it, either from the angle of the Minister of FCT or from the angle of the naval officer, it shows that because both of them are trying to show, okay, I have ego, I have the right to protect my land, though regardless of whatever the document looks like. So it's still a system problem. Because if it is not ego, if it is not power hierarchy, and somebody trying to show that I can do this, we know what to do. We know what the Lord says. We know that civil obedience is key to any growth and development in any society. I could have well just say, okay, maybe because I know probably anybody in this country, that this is a green area, and the next thing I want to do is I want to erect a structure there.
So who is wrong in this case? Was it the FCT Minister or the naval officer?
It is not a question of who is right or who is wrong. Because you see, this will still repeat itself. This is not the first time we've had different confrontations with either with governors, with an officer of the Nigerian police force, or even a Nigerian army. We've had it over time, and we will continue to have such, because I said it shows a deeper dysfunction. It shows that there is ego. It shows that there is what? Hierarchy malfunction. So people don't understand who they are, what the Lord says about who they are, and how they need to carry out their lawful existence. So it's not a question about, we can say this person is wrong, it's a vicious circle. We'll still go back to it. But then, if we're able to fix the system, so if you know that regardless of who you are, former president, former naval officer, you know that there is a rule, there is a law and order you need to follow. There will be peace in the nation. And no matter who you are the sitting president, the sitting vice president. See, we need to understand that we need to institutionalize law and order from Aso Rock to Area 1, from Aso Rock to Bariga in Lagos. So until then, we will just continue to talk about who is wrong, who is right, and people will begin to, take side based on how they feel, based on sentiment, or based on whatever, anything they want to take. But then, we need to sit down as a nation.
Okay.
And have a deeper conversation with ourselves.
Okay. I wanted to go deeper into the particular situation, but perhaps you might not be in a situation to explain further, because this is a case of documents were needed, documents were not provided, and then the officials were not allowed to get into the premises to carry out their duties because naval officers were guarding the particular land. I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah, I do.
So it's in such a situation now, does that mean that if you are part of the military, you are exempted from obeying the civic laws, because this is a civic law?
I'll just take on your question, which was you said last. It's so clear. The military obey the civil law. 100%. The moment the military fails to obey the civil law, there'll be anarchy. That's when we begin to talk about different things happening in our nation. So until we begin to, like I said, it's still a system problem. If a military person knows that, no matter, and all these things, they trickle down. That is when you see someone will complain that, okay, I was just going, all because of the way I drive or something. You see a military person start, why are you koboko? Because it's still a system problem, because it trickled down from the up. There's a greater dysfunction from the up. It trickled down to even, how will I put it, to an officer, a recruit, and the way a recruit sees other Nigerian, which of course, I don't understand the word bloody civilian. Yeah, we might be bloody civilian, but at the same time, we are both human beings, a citizen of this country, which we all deserve equal respect. So also, if you're a government official, you must understand hierarchy and structure. You must understand line of communication. You must also understand that if you want to deal with this peculiar situation, because, as a leader, you must be creative in dealing with incidences. Know who to talk to. Everything is not about confrontation. You must know how to navigate your way when having conversation, especially in a moxie situation like this.
All right. That leads me to my next point. You made a very valid point. We're in the democratic dispensation. However, the trauma of the military rule and the military era still lives on. You just made an example how the typical Nigerian would feel intimidated just by seeing the military officer as opposed to feeling safe. So how do you think we can fix that mindset?
Okay, so since it's a mindset problem, what we need is reorientation. You see, there's a lot of conversation we need to have as a nation. We need to first of all understand that Nigerian first. And in as much as we are having the conversation of Nigerian first, we must understand that our allegiance is to the flag and our country. So then we need to now begin to, agency of government, let's say like the National Orientation Agency, must begin to engage citizens to understand who they are, the role of a citizen, and what you need to do in the structure called Nigeria. As a civilian person, as a military personnel, as a serving minister, as whatever capacity you are, we need to understand our role in nation building, orientation and reorientation. Because it's a continuous, because even the Holy Scripture says, faith cometh by hearing, and continuous hearing through the word of God. So you must continue to let people know, have the same conversation that, see, this is who we are. And that is why do we have American being, we all want to be like America, everybody wants to go America, because an average American are so proud of their country, they're so proud of their flag. So until we understand that this is our country, we must do everything, what's in our own capacity as an individual,
right,
to make Nigeria work.
But do you think that is easy, considering the fact that our leaders, some of our leaders, are not setting the right example? You see a government official literally going against the traffic. Now, I can understand why perhaps you need to put on the sirens and you need to get to a particular duty on time. However, you see situations where they are literally going against traffic, This is just an example of how our leaders are setting bad examples. So how do you now expect the citizens to emulate being a good Nigerian when they can literally see that there are no consequences for their actions as long as they make money and they make a name in the society?
Thank you. So there are no consequences for actions. So then you've now looked at it, the society reflects, mirror the leader. So it's easier for an average Nigerian when you see your leader breaking the traffic lights, you see your leader passing one way or the other. If you looked around, there's no VIO, there's no road safety, you quickly want to do that. So it's a system problem. So what we need to do is there's what called culture. Culture is the software of the mind, which when inputted, it's usually problematic to remove. You understand? I'm talking from behavioral science now. That culture is the software of the mind, that when inputted, is usually problematic to remove. So the culture we have, the culture of impunity, the culture of anyhowness, we need to remove it from the leadership. That's why I said earlier on that we must have this body language, we must have this conversation from Aso Rock to Area 1, from Aso Rock to Bariga, from Aso Rock to Nembe, until we begin to have that kind of conversation, until we begin to have that change. I think we're still joking. So that culture needs to change. Yeah, it's problematic to change, but you know, I always make a simple example when it comes to changing something problematic. It's like having all these, all these round fish, these dry fish. You know, if you want to straighten it, when you just take it and try to straighten it with force, what will happen? Everything will scatter. It will just but then when you put it inside water, you are now rubbing it a bit, you're rubbing it, you're taking your time. Before you know it, it might not become straight, but before you know it, it will open up, start giving you an arc form. That is the way the reorientation and culture change will happen in Nigeria. It has to be systematic, but we have to start now.
Okay, now this all sounds really good and fancy, but let's talk to practicality. Currently, the three arms of government, executive, legislature, and the judiciary, some people of the school of thought that is just one arm of government we have right now. People are doubting the independence of the judiciary. People are doubting the independence of the legislative arm of government. As the ruling party, some people are of the opinion that they've sort of harmonized it. And as much as some people would also say it's a good thing in the sense that it might help deliver projects faster, other people would say no. When there is a conversation that needs to be had and people have cases to put forth to either the judiciary or the legislature, it is being controlled politically. Now, what are your thoughts on how we can enforce the law truly without the law being selective, especially when it comes to political matters?
Okay, so when it comes to political matters, the truth is we want harmony between the three arms of government, most especially between the legislative arm and the executive arm, because that is what will drive development. However, the legislative arm of government must also be able to show their independence, just as the way we expect the judiciary. We don't expect to have a KOC in a dysfunction system, just as we have it now. You know, we are so used to dysfunctionality that we feel that the moment there is harmony, there must be something to trigger it. No, but in a way that we want them to act, we want them to work in unison, but maintaining their independence. That's why people talk about the independence of the judiciary. Okay, that, you know what, let the National Judicial Commission have their own funds without the interference of the executive. So
you did make mention that the moment we have harmony, it looks like there's something wrong. Are you now saying that, let's even be particular, are you saying that the judiciary arm of government has lived up to expectation in this particular dispensation, especially when it comes to cases that are concerning the opposition?
So I won't take it as cases concerning the opposition. I'll take it as cases concerning an average Nigerian. See, there's a lot of work we need to do with our judiciary, and there is a need for, I think when the new CJN was appointed, I suggested some certain things he needed to do, because there's a need for hard conversation. Let us have like kind of a national conversation on our judiciary, because an average Nigerian does not, especially from the heart of the opposition, don't trust the judiciary. Why? Rightly so, because if you looked at the pattern or the body language from the judiciary, you begin to question their ability. So, but however, we cannot throw away the baby and the bathwater. There is still glimpse of hope. Yeah, there's still a lot of things that needs to be done, because sometimes justice delay is justice denied. You see some cases go on and on and on for 10, 15 years, and even you see sometimes the plaintiff or whatever they are being called, even they will die along the line. However, we need to understand that working in harmony doesn't mean there shouldn't be executive interference. That is certain. However, the opposition government also, the opposition also should also come out with, real issues when you want to have conversation with people in government. You can't just throw emotions. See, emotions will not get you what you want. bias or trying to whip up public sentiment. We not always get you what you want, but when you have the real conversation, when you have issues, bring it out to the public opinion.
Right.
People will see it and they will have this conversation. And you know, it is still a function of we coming together as a system, understanding that either we like it or not, the judicial and executive arm, they have a way they align.
Yeah.
However, the judiciary must always maintain its independence.
Sadly, we're out of time. There's so much that we need to talk about, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Robin Mind
and
continues.
please let me know when you're going back to Lagos so I can book your ticket. So we don't want Abuja to be overcrowded.
Thank you very much. Robin
welcome.
Mind continues after this break. Stay with us.